There is political gridlock tonight in Assin North, where there is a flurry of political activity with the NPP electing its parliamentary candidate today in the primary and the NDC going ahead to launch its campaign.
So the governing New Patriotic Party a few hours ago, like you said, elected Charles Opoku as the parliamentary candidate to face off with NDC's James Jachikwesin on June 27. So Charles Opoku secured 397 votes to beat his main contender Freeman Che, who managed 136 votes. Well, the leadership of the NPP say the end of the primary signals the beginning of aggressive campaigning aimed at winning that by-election. Henry Nanabuachi, we call him Nana B, is the national organizer of the NPP.
Today happens to be the elections day. We are happy with the level of cooperation from the polling station executives, constituency executives, also the level of cooperation from the Electoral Commission and the security agencies. That is the Ghana Police. We are happy with the level of cooperation. What is apparent is that there are two people contesting, and we are very hopeful that anyone who through this process will emerge victorious is going to be the NDC candidate hands down. So we are happy with the two men who picked up nominations, and we are waiting for the outcome so that we will launch and then wage an effective and a strong campaign to snatch the seat from the NDC.
Now, only one person will emerge victorious as your candidate to face off with the NDC's James Jachikwesin. What are you telling your supporters? Because we know that, and you have told us consistently that in 2020 there was some division among you. That is why James Jachikwesin won. True?
Yes, it's true. Yes, I mean, if you critically analyze the 2020 elections, you will recall that His Excellency the President won the elections. Unfortunately, we lost. If you zero in specifically on Assin Breku has 13 polling stations. Out of the 13 polling stations, His Excellency the President won 12. Then Mr. Kwesin also won 12. Clearly, you could see that there was skirt and blouse issues here. Yes, we had some internal problems. I can tell you that we have addressed all of these internal problems. We are going through this process peacefully, and all of us will unite behind the person who will win, and we are going to conduct an effective campaign, an election-winning campaign. And let me repeat, we are going to win these elections. We are going to snatch this seat from the NDC.
Let me bring in our man on the ground, Richard Kojonyako, who is live from Assin North. Well, Richard, let's first run through the results of this just ended primaries.
Well, so Charles Opoku, as we earlier heard, secured 397 votes as against Freeman Che, who secured 136. In fact, the election was smooth sailing and there was no untoward action. But after the election, the mic to the principal street of Assin are converted through to Assin Breku, where major construction works are ongoing. There's an astroturf, the roads, all the major roads within the town, they are being given facelifts. But that is not all. Now the NPP has launched its campaign officially. They've begun the campaign led by the General Secretary of the party. On the other hand, we see the NDC also, also campaigning, and that charge is being led by the 2020 running mate of the party, Professor Jane Nana Opoku-Agyeman, and then the candidate of the NDC himself, James Jachikwesin. So there are two aggressive campaigns that are running concurrently in the constituency. Currently, the NDC campaign is at Assin Breku. From here, a few minutes from now, they will be at Assin Praso, and they are not leaving anything to chance. They say that the seat belongs to them and they must win and win at all costs.
So two major crucial campaigns launched in Assin North, and I'm sure that you've been interacting with residents in particular. I'm curious, what exactly have they been telling you about this? How are they taking it in?
Well, so the residents have been expressing joy and surprise at the same time. Joy for the fact that the major development that started some years ago, now they are back at it and they are working on these construction. Well, if you look at the 32-kilometer road, it's been asphalted. It's very nice to drive on. There are also inner town roads within the big towns within the Assin North constituency. For that, they are very grateful. But there are others that are also surprised at the speed of life with which these constructions are ongoing, and many attribute them to the by-election. But some have also been very quick to rebut that when there is a wedding or when there is a ceremony coming to your house, you make preparations, and that is why the constructions and the works are ongoing. And so it's been very, very hectic here, and it's been very, very serious as far as the campaigns are concerned.
Jane Nana Opoku leading the side of the NDC. Really, what is the message that she's been giving to residents as to why they should maintain James Jachikwe?
One, she says that they should ignore, they should brush aside all the major development they see now because they are geared towards the elections. Two, he says that the NDC is the only party that can secure the future of this constituency because they left them for about 2 years. There was nothing happening in the constituency. So it is not for this by-election that they will come trooping into the constituency, promising them that they will do A, B, C, D. And she said that they hear that the president will be there to commission some projects and all of that. She's basically asked them to brush them aside and then focus on James Jachikwe and then vote for him. James Jachikwe, on the other hand, has also been commenting on that. He's also been interacting with the people. He says that they say that a vote for him means that he will go to jail after he's been elected. And he's charging them to elect him. And no one will dare arrest him because if they want to arrest him, he's a free man. He's walking about in this country and they should dare arrest him. So there is nothing that is changing him. And so the people should ignore every propaganda against him and then go ahead to vote for him.
Well, briefly, Richard, before I let you off, the issue about Charles Opoku, with all the controversy, he's been elected as the parliamentary candidate for the NPP. I bet you've been trying to get a word or two from him after this, win, convincing win, I should add, 397 votes. What has he been saying?
He's rallying the support of all of them. He says that he comes from the constituency precisely, Assin North. And the twist and turns here, the NDC's candidate, James Jachikwe, comes from Assin North. That is the biggest town. It has 13 polling stations. In the 2020 elections, the NPP's flag bearer secured 12 out of the 13, but the candidate lost. And so that is why they are saying that they needed someone who also comes from Assin North, and that is Charles Opoku. Charles Opoku, they say, has been working in the constituency for a very long time. He owns an NGO and has been embarking on various developmental projects. So they said that, well, it was only voting that he couldn't vote. That he comes from there, he's resided there, and he fulfills all the requirements according to the Constitution.
That's my colleague Richard Kujonyako there reporting live from Assin North. Let me bring in the Deputy General Secretary of the NDC, Mustafa Gbande. We also have on the other line the national organizer of the NPP, Henry Nanabuachi Nanabi. We're told they've all relocated to the Assin North area. Mustafa Gbande, thank you so much for joining us, as well as Nanabi. Thank you so much for joining us here on Newsnight. So, Mustafa, let me first find out from you, now that you know who your opponent in terms of the candidates for the NPP is, in spite of all the concerns that you've raised, will it be Operation Maintain or Snatch?
Emefa, I think that clearly our brothers are on a borrowing popularity spree because they've realized that there's no way they can win the seat from the NDC. And so the best that they can is to go and look for someone who is not a voter in that constituency to boost their popularity. I'm in Assin North now, and I'll pass on the major road and an actual tech project that have been completed. All other projects are projects that have been abandoned for some time, and government now revisiting those projects. They are called by-election projects. They are not genuine developmental agenda projects. And so the people have also realized that clearly this is a government that is trooping into their communities because of by-election. And so one, they will vote against the MPP to maintain justice in favor of Jachikwe. Two, they will vote for someone they know and trust, someone who have allegiance with them, someone they've lived with. Don't forget that Nanabi said the last time that Jachikwe have been in Canada for 40 years. That's not true. He's been with the people. They voted for him as their MP. Government is using its machinery to try and get him out of parliament. And so we are telling the people that their vote is not only for the NDC and the Jachikwesin, it is also to have an effective work on Parliament. It will reflect on the work of Parliament because their vote will maintain the status quo as far as the hung Parliament is concerned to check the conduct of government. That is what we are telling the people. So it is operation maintain.
Okay. Well, let me bring in Nana B on this. Nana B, so we've heard at least my colleague tell me about the number of projects, massive projects that are being undertaken in Assin North. So is that the strategy? Borrowed popularity spree and by-election projects? Is that how we are doing this Operation Snatch?
Thank you very much. I mean, and good evening to your choice listeners, and good evening to my brother Mustafa as well. First of all, let me address just 3 quick issues. The gentleman we have just elected as our parliamentary candidate, he is a true indigene. He does not possess dual citizenship. He was born and bred in Assin Briku. He went to school here. He has his NGO offices here. He has a house here, unlike Mr. Jachikwesin. Mr. Kwesi stayed in abroad for 41 years.
But that's
if
not
my brother Mustafa doesn't know, he stayed in Canada for 41 years. He doesn't have any touch with them.
Nana B, briefly, you've added all his track record when it comes to Assin.
No. It would be unfair for you to just cut me when he's mentioned some of these things. He also mentioned the fact that we are trying to get Mr. Kwesi out of Parliament. That is an absurdity. Look, General MP, NDC MP, he went to court. Similar issues. The court said that, you know what, go ahead, do your work. And then they jubilated. The same court is saying that Jachikwesin doesn't possess that requisite documentation to be in Parliament. And then you are saying that it is the NPP in cahoots with the court. I mean, this attempt to always malign and bastardize the court is quite unfortunate. And that is their campaign message here. And that is why we need to bring it to the attention of Ghanaians. Again, on the issue of the project, these are projects that are not 2-day, 3-day-a-week project. When you consider the 32-kilometer road right from Praso to Asampanaye to Bretiakon to Briku to Niaso to Akonfode, these are roads that started years ago.
But they were abandoned. They were abandoned.
No, not at all.
All of a sudden,
I have used this road consistently. Okay. They have never been abandoned. Consistently, they have been on this work right somewhere from the year 2020. It can never be said that road that go to Assin Fosu now. Beautiful. If you have been to Assin Fosu now and you come here today, you may even lose. You are going to. So it cannot be said that these projects are fortnight projects and these projects are by-election projects. Not at all. So these projects are projects targeted at consciously developing Assin North. Look, when you consider education, you consider market, you consider sanitation, you consider health. We have closed about 120 projects. Agenda 111. Such a beautiful project coming up here in Assin North.
Okay.
We have a beautiful astroturf now. So it can never be said that these are by-election.
So this is not a borrowed popularity spree for the NPP. And I must add, did you elect a candidate in whom the party is well pleased?
No. I mean, then again, this argument is also flawed. Look, you have somebody like a certain MP, NDC MP, Sofia Pyokun, who moved away from Obundomiabra to, I think, Wakankri or Ayawaso. You have Baba Jama moving away from Akwetia all the way to Ayawaso. And then you have your own Akwetia Mankwa, who was a voter in Ayawaso West Wagon, who came all the way. You sponsored this gentleman all the way to Kumewu, and he was not a voter there. So that argument is again flawed. What the Constitution requires is that you are a registered voter, you are a Ghanaian of 21 years, and you do not hold any allegiance other than Ghana. And that is why they qualify. Unlike Mr. Kwesi, who has been lawless, right, as a lawmaker, or somebody who is seeking to be a lawmaker. He's been the lawless lawmaker.
Okay. So the fact of the matter is I was actually asking if the party is happy, the candidate that you elected.
We are extremely happy. You know what? They are panicking.
Okay.
You know how they started writing letters citing the names of Charles Opoku even before he was elected. Okay. They were having bad dreams. They were having nightmares. Even before he was elected, they started writing letters saying that we plan transferring his votes from a particular constituency to Assin North,
okay,
even before he got elected.
We're grateful. We'll have to leave it here, Nanabi. Thank you so much. We'll have to leave it here, gentlemen. And it looks like the fierce politicking is on, Evans, and your election headquarters is there all over it for you. And bringing it
but of course, Rachel Kutunyako is on the ground now,
exactly,
with our team of reporters covering this, because today was one of the days we couldn't have missed, of course, because of the flow of activity, but also just gauging what is going to happen going into the by-election on the 27th of June. But as we've been talking about this, you know that the NDC has been engaged in this tussle with the Electoral Commission ahead of the polls, and the subject of Charles Opoku, who had just been elected as the NPP's parliamentary candidate, had been at the center of the accusations that the EC is in cahoots or conspiring with the NPP to try and transfer his vote from another constituency to Assin North to vote. Well, I've been speaking to the Director of Electoral Services at the Electoral Commission, Dr. Sribo Kweku, about this, and he's challenging the NDC to produce evidence if they have it.
Since 2020, we have not even activated the icon on the transfer of vote. So no vote has been transferred since we finished the 2020 elections. But if you want to apply for transfer, you apply. No, we have received some applications, right? But no, to the best of my knowledge, nobody has applied for even transfer to Assin North. Nobody.
The applications you received, did they include one Charles Opoku?
That's what I said. We have not received that.
But you've received some applications?
Oh, yes. I think we have about 7 or so, but not to Assin North. And to the best of my knowledge, we have never transferred votes for by-elections. Because the law is that the application should be done not less than 42 days to election. And this type of elections, 30 days to election. So clearly it cuts off any form of qualification.
That's Dr. Sribo Kweku there, and he is on PM Express later tonight. Catch the full interview. He addressed this extensively. He also addressed the subject of Sammy James-Fee, addressed their relationship with the NDC. It appears that it's very cordial in private, but antagonistic in public. And he explains why that is the case. You want to catch the full interview at 9 p.m. on the Joy News channel across our social media platforms and on myjoyonline.com.
I'll take you to Parliament now, where the Minority Chief Whip, Governor Kwame Agbuja, says the newly appointed Chief Justice, Gertrude Tokono, must leave a better legacy than her predecessor, Kwesi Enin-Yeboah, in terms of justice delivery.
Well, the Daklu MP accused Enin-Yeboah of presiding over a Supreme Court, which made some bad judgments, citing the court's decision in the birth certificate case and the recent Jachikwesin's case as well.
And urge colleagues to support the approval of Justice Tokono, simply because I think she's got what it takes to be a Supreme Court judge. And I am hopeful, Mr. Speaker, that she will be a better Chief Justice than the person she's taking over from. Why do I say this, Mr. Speaker? Under the reign of the outgoing Chief Justice, the level of miscarriage of justice in this country reached a crescendo and must never be repeated. And the former Chief Justice must know when he goes home, this miscarriage of justice rests on his chest. When a Ghanaian cannot use but let the rulings of the court make sense to the ordinary citizen. Let the rulings of the court be enforceable. Mr. Speaker, if we take the ruling of the Supreme Court as a law, it will be difficult for me to approve Justice Tokono as a Ghanaian, because she has no proof beyond this as a citizen of Ghana, Mr. Speaker. But I will leave this with the lawyers. But let them understand that they are not God, and they are also interpreting this Constitution. This Constitution makes sense to me. Their rulings must make sense to me, Mr. Speaker. I thank you for the opportunity.
Well, the First Deputy Speaker wasn't happy with the pronouncements that we've just heard there. Joe Sowusu challenged the Minority Chief Whip to criticize the rulings of the judges and not their personality.
Ordinarily, I'll leave it here, but I think it is important for our own records to emphasize one thing. Judges know that as humans they can err, and judges always welcome criticism of their judgment. But when we are critiquing a judgment, it is expected that we will critique the judgment with law, with facts, with alternative argument. We should shy away or move away from just criticizing because we agree or disagree. Otherwise, we give room for people to attack the individual judges rather than the judgment. Members are encouraged to feel free to research and bring alternative arguments, legal arguments, to challenge the judges. That is how the law has been developed over the years. And so we should not shy away from criticizing judgment, except that we should demonstrate that the judge either did not look at the particular law, he overlooked something, or he did not interpret the judgment in a particular way.
Let's bring in parliamentary correspondent Kweku Asante. Kweku, it wasn't a surprise, was it, that the much of the debate focused on the Judicial case. Harun Edrisu, who is the former minority leader, had something to say about this. Hello, Kweku. Yeah, we may have lost him there. We'll try and get him back. Harun Edrisu has been speaking about this. Even the speaker himself had his own take on the issues, particularly when it comes to attacking judges and critiquing their judgments and making the separation between both. Kweku, Harun Edrisu was also on his feet on the floor of Parliament today, raising issues with the judgment still.
Indeed, Evans, the judgment was such a centerpiece of the debate around Justice Tokunu's approval today. He was instructive by saying that judges must know that they are not above reproach, they are not above criticism, and that indeed his reading of the Judicial case, the judgment that the Supreme Court put out, clearly showed that the court erred fundamentally when it held that Judicial's election should be nullified. In his opinion, the court must look at some of these issues going forward, and the Chief Justice must be the watchword on this.
The Supreme Court is not above the criticisms of the Parliament of Ghana. Indeed, in civilized jurisdictions, and even in Ghana, the Supreme Court or the courts are servants of the legislature. We make the law. They are to interpret the law. That is why we are enjoined not to use language that is ambiguous. When they are interpreting the law, they are supposed to be guided by the words the legislature uses, that members of parliament uses. So nobody should think that freedom of expression is limited only in our bedrooms. Okay.
And Kweku, he got a response on the Abuakwa South MP Atacha.
Yeah, according to Atacha, if the NDC feels strongly about the judgment of the court and they think it's wrong, then they should apply for a review instead of trying to use Parliament as a review chamber.
Supreme Court is...
You know the processes of amendment, which we have even the power to initiate in this house. Mr. Speaker, I agree with you that any time we are in this chamber and then we veer into territories that are not ours, we will make some serious errors. If you pay regard to the this decision, which you might want to call it the James Jachikwesin decision, we have lawyers of consequence representing this man. That is Mr. Chikata. And therefore, if this decision is wrong in law, we know what to do. This chamber is not a review, a place of what has been decided by the Supreme Court. Mr. Speaker, I am of the humble view that the nominee is a symbol of the power of womanhood. It seems to me that in recent times, the power of women are being showcased. We have Her Ladyship Georgina Wood, and then Her Ladyship Sophia Akufo.
And Emefa, you're a woman, and so this comes straight into your lap. I've just heard Atacha mentions that the Chief Justice nominee has been confirmed. We're expecting her to be sworn in pretty shortly. But, she's also been unhappy about something. This year, we've had so many key members of the Supreme Court exiting. So we have the likes of, the Chief Justice Iniyeboah himself is gone. You have the acting Chief Justice, Victor James Doche, who's also leaving tomorrow. Justice Dena Megache, who has already retired and currently on a 6-month extension. The former Chief Justice, Kwesi Iniyeboah, as we mentioned already. So a host of them. Justice Tokunu, who will be sworn in pretty shortly from what we understand herself, is not happy and is worried about what she says is the attrition rate of the great and the good from the Supreme Court?
The attrition rate of the great and good from the Supreme Court this year leaves us all with great sadness. But I personally cannot help but feel almost orphaned by the situation as I prepare to serve this nation where their big shoes stood. To lose the help and wisdom of His Lordship Justice Victor Jones Maulom Doche, a proud son of Pando, a quintessential example of the beautiful pearl, at a time like this is a big blow, and I know that we shall all miss him very dearly. It is my prayer that our celebration of this distinguished jurist will carry on into our continued service through this institution, as we all strive to emulate his examples of good faith, patriotism, hard work, diligence, and devout faith, delivered with constant humor and wisdom through stories from Pando, Commonwealth Hall, and his journeys around the world. Victor Jones Maulom Doche, for the service and for the example you are leaving us with. May the Lord continue to bless you with good health and strength of mind and body, and with the love and comfort of family.
But I'm sure you're wondering what Justice Jones Doche will be doing next. He's been telling us.
Am I happy or sad that I am going home? I think I am really happy because I'm tired. What am I going to do? First of all, I intend to work with an organization which is called, it's a non-governmental organization, Judicial Watch. I think only Justice Mariam Awusu knows about this. That's my first preoccupation after I've rested for the rest of this year. Secondly, I intend to set up a Victoria Doche Memorial Trust Fund to support the girl child education in my mother's hometown, Amfweta. This one I have not discussed with my brothers, but my mother was fond of education, and I have already requested my sister Justice Agnes Doji to be the chair of this trust fund when it is established very soon. Thirdly, I also intend to raise funds to build permanent buildings for the daycare center in Pando, where our late mother was the supervisor from 1960 to 1969. Since then, the said nursery school has not had its own permanent buildings. That nursery was the one Dr. Kanda and my brother Seth attended, and I believe I will call on them to support this worthy cause.
Tall list of things he wants to do. I was hoping that he would say that he'll probably travel to go and watch Chelsea and also spend some time with, you know, Suffolk, you know, he says those teams are giving him a lot of trouble this year. Traumatized him this year.
I'm not sure he would want to go.
But you know, I've had an encounter with him before I will never forget. He actually became my friend after that encounter. I was a young court reporter back in the day, you know, in court. And one of the days I was in this court, I'm telling this story in public for the first time. And I was in this court covering one of those very high profile cases. I think it must have been the Tagore case. And, you know, accuracy is everything here. And, you know, when he's delivering his judgment and speaking, sometimes you just have to write it down. You might miss it. So
because you can't record.
I put my recorder on my lap, right? And I was recording it, you know, secretly. And the police officer walked by and saw it and, you know, took it and went to whisper into his ears and asked him to usher me into the chamber. So he left. And then I went to meet him behind. Oh my God, I was detained for quite a bit. You know, so office was calling me, and they wanted a story, a story. At Newsnight, I was not coming, you know, what was happening, you know, and then eventually he let me go on the caution. And then he became a very good friend of mine indeed. And so,
you saw your real size that day.
I saw, exactly, I saw my real size that day. Recently, I was hosting one of the shows for the Judicial, and we had a good laugh and chat about it. Yes, he's a lovely man.
Justice Doche,
Doche.
I mean, he is an ardent listener of Joe, of course,
we wish him all the best.
When you have an encounter with him, he always wants to challenge you.
He has a great sense of humor. Very humble.
Yeah.
And very intelligent, actually. As a judge, second to none. All remember him for create, loot, and share.
Yeah.
But yes, I mean, I wish him all the best.
Let's do business.
Well, coming up in business, the bulk oil distributors give some positive outlook for fuel prices at the pumps in the coming weeks, but condition is that as long as the Ghana city remains fairly stable. And Group Chief Executive of EcoBank, optimistic IMF program will fast-track confidence restoration in the economy. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business, Allianz Life and Ghana Pay. Welcome back to Business on Newsnight. Now, bulk oil distribution companies have given some fresh assurance that fuel prices will remain stable at the pumps in the coming weeks, as long as the Ghana city remains fairly stable. Now, fresh fights in Russia and Ukraine, as well as moves by the oil exporting giant OPEC to cut a round of fuel prices, have actually ignited concerns that prices could be going up again at the pumps in the coming weeks. The chief executive of the chamber, Dr. Patrick Okofori, says we should rather be concerned about the city's stability in the coming weeks.
There is a positive outlook, especially from our part of the world, looking at the situation currently happening in China, that they have not really opened up to a full scale, and then also with most of the refineries coming back from their shutdowns, and the U.S. reserve, the U.S. policy rate and other things. It gives a strong indication and a strong confidence that if our city is to continue to perform or remain relatively stable for international prices, we can clearly see that it may come down. And we can also pick up from all indications what currently OPEC and its members are trying to do to ensure that the demand has gone down. They, as much as possible, want to cut down on supply so that they can still remain a bit competitive and get some hikes in the pricing.
Dr. Patrick Okofori is Chief Executive of the Chamber of Bulk Oil Distribution Companies. Let's still stay on the sector because oil marketing giant GOIL says it expects supply issues at all its service stations to normalize by tomorrow. The development affected product availability, with some linking it to fuel shortage on the market. But speaking to Joy Business after the company's annual general meeting today, Group Chief Executive Kwame Oseprempe noted that all the issues have been resolved.
In the first, there were some challenges at the CDM. There were crises, so we couldn't discharge our cargoes as fast as should be. But then when we were able to discharge, there were some challenges in the loading section. That's what accounted for that. As at now, we have enough quantities to satisfy the market. So, in fact, normally we even supply 2.4 million a day on the market. Yesterday at management meeting, we decided to move it to 2.5 million so that we make sure that this situation is normalized once and for all.
Group Chief Executive of GOIL, Kwame Oseprempe. Now, former Minister of Finance Tekpe has indicated that there is no need to institute new laws to check the country's rising debt. Now, this follows government's plan to amend the Fiscal Responsibility Act to try and limit the amount of debt its administration can borrow. Mr. Tekpe tells Joy Business there are already laws in place to check the rising debt and government's expenditure.
I would like to know from the government, document, if it is a memorandum of economic and financial policy. I'm afraid I'm saying that we do have the provisions. They are already in the Fiscal Public Financial Management Act, which was passed in 2016, Act 921. And in fact, the Budget Responsibility Act, which you mentioned, is actually an extract from the financial, what we call the PFMA. Yes, there is a need for tightening. There's a need for tightening the rules, but it's not just about debt. As I said, your debt is from borrowing, and the borrowing is from your deficit, and your deficit is from revenue minus expenditure. And this is the purpose of the Public Financial Management Act to cover all this in one law, which amended the FAA, Financial Administration Act. So what we need is a comprehensive approach to managing our fiscal.
Former Minister of Finance Seth Terkper, now Group Chief Executive of EcoBank Jeremy Awori, is optimistic that the IMF program will help in restoring confidence in the economy. His comments is coming ahead of the IMF staff visit to town to track Ghana's program and embark on stakeholder engagement. Mr. Awori tells Joy Business they are looking forward to a stabilized environment that will support banks in the country.
We remain hopeful that Ghana can really get back onto its feet. I mean, it was obviously quite unfortunate what happened when we went through the Ghana debt situation that we did. But we're quite encouraged by the dialogue between the Paris Club and the Chinese, the dialogue between the government and the IMF and the World Bank. And we fundamentally believe that the Ghanaian economy, will rebound. The question is just how quickly. We really hope that it's quick, the confidence returns. And we as a bank are one of the biggest banks in Ghana and are committed to our customers, to growing that business. And we still see a lot of exciting opportunities, but we operate within the framework of the economy itself. And we need that to, really to bounce back, and we'll be there to support the government and players as we do so.
Group Chief Executive of EcoBank, Jeremy Awori. Now, banking consultant and notary champion has described as prudent proposals to increase the minimum capital requirement for commercial banks in Ghana. The Bank of Ghana has asked banks to submit their recapitalization plans by September this year. The notary champion maintains that the current challenges facing the economy warrants the Bank of Ghana's action.
If your capital has fallen below the buffer level and is giving you then 5-6 months to look at plans to boost it up. Actually, you got up to 3 years to do that. But it doesn't mean that, I think it's a trick where once you submit your plans, what should be out of the window will be dividend payment. Because for the 3 years, unless you are able to say that you've got up to the buffer level and you've met all conditions, you are not allowed to pay dividend. And so it's a way of getting banks to really boost their capital before they start paying dividends.
The notary champion is a banking consultant. Let's turn our attention to the stock market. And shares of MTN Ghana continues to increase on the market. It was up by 9 pesos to close at 1 Ghana cedi, 19 pesos. Enterprise Group shares went down marginally and is now worth 2 cedis, 41 pesos. And that's all for business on Newsnight. Back to you, Evans and Emefa. We are still searching for the correct pronunciation. Is it Doche or Doche?
You heard the man. It says
Doche. Okay.
Yes,
Doche.
Yes.
Okay.
Right. Let's do some messages before we go to sports.
And Emefa, this is to you. It says good evening to you and your cherished listeners. It's amazing. Contractors who abandoned road projects in Assin North of all the suddenly reappeared. Electors in Assin North must demonstrate to this government that they are not voting machines.
Well, that's from Magbe. We have this one from Papa. He says no one can speak up in GH. I mean, how is this the human rights lawyers' country? What a shame. I guess he's referring to what we did on Top Story. And then Kofi Seidu says the people of Assin North should punish the NPP for trying to hoodwink them with projects which have been long abandoned for almost 2 years by the same government. We have this one also from Musa Abatwa in Aswase. He says the massive projects happening at Assin North simply because of the by-election is a slap on the face of the people of Assin North. They should punish them by voting massively for James Jachikwesen. And Bochi Philip in Keta says votes buying can't win Assin North constituency seat. And a final one from Sena says NPP party must forget upcoming Assin North by-election. Some of your messages that you've sent via WhatsApp. Let's do sports. Mr. Cranting is in the studios. Hello.
Hi, Emefa. Hi, Evans. Would you follow me to Saudi anytime soon?
Looks like that's
when
everybody's moving to.
Just tell me who should I kill to come along?
I'll text you by close of day tomorrow.
It's tomorrow. It's too long.
It's too long.
Let's do it now, right after here.
Let's go straight into the sports. And the sports is brought to you by Pepsodent Herbal and Charcoal. Pepsodent, every smile matters. Now, the former Western Regional FA chairman Kojo Yanka has accused the GFA president Keto Kriku of destroying the unity within the Ghanaian football community. Yanka, who this week declared his intention to contest the GFA presidency, is of the opinion that the current FA boss has stepped on one too many toes during his tenure. He made these claims in an exclusive interview with Joy Sports.
When he was elected, he said something. And a lot of the football people were not happy. And up to now, he said he cannot work with his enemies. And a lot of the football people are not happy. In view of that, people are not even interested in going to the FA. The love we used to have, we share things together, we argue together, is no more. That is why we have to look at that particular problem to bring us back again.
You had the former Western Regional FA chairman, Kojo Iyanka, speaking there. That's it for sports. But Evans, Lionel Messi, yes, he's heading to Inter Miami.
Inter Miami?
Yeah.
Oh, he didn't go to Saudi?
Yeah, the one man who said no to Saudi.
How much is he taking there?
Figures are not yet been disclosed.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Now, due to the lack of furniture, 3 to 4 children are forced to share a desk that is only meant to hold 2. Alternatively, they must crouch, kneel, sit on stones, or lie down to learn. And that's a story in many parts of the country. In the final episode of season 2 of Ghana's Schools of Shame, Jojo Kobana visited the Christian Heritage School in the Tatali district of the Northern Region and reports that the children are desperate for the government to provide them with furniture.
Rainy season.
The Christian Heritage School in the Tatali district of the Northern Region has inadequate furniture, so the children sit on stones and blocks to study. Some of the children simply lie down if they start to feel uncomfortable. They become playful, dirty, and sometimes occasionally nod off on the bare floor. Research from the Ghana Education Service in the Northern Region shows only 33.6% of children at the kindergarten level have school furniture. The data also shows that 56% of primary school children do not have furniture. It is almost the norm to be without school furniture.
For kindergarten enrollment currently stands at 881, and of that number we have 52,643, and that gives us a 33.6%. So in total, about 104,238 children are currently either perching with somebody or sitting on the ground.
The total furniture deficit in the Northern Region alone stands at 321,116. Olivia Chemame is in her early teens. She is unwilling to sit on the bare floor at this point in her adolescence. She wants the government to stock her school with enough furniture.
After sitting on stones and blocks for long hours, you start to develop sores on your buttocks because the surface is quite rough. You feel very uncomfortable and unable to pay attention and learn. We park about 3 to 4 blocks before we sit. If you get up abruptly, the blocks may fall on your toes and you would even get hurt. We are pleading with government to come to our aid.
Lack of school furniture is just one of the many challenges in her school. Studies are conducted under simple sheds which are thatch-roofed without walls. Teachers say the children are subjected to the whims of the weather.
When during Harmattan time, you'll be there, then the wind will blow dust onto ourselves. The whole class will now be very, very dusty. So writing or looking on the board becomes a challenge. Anytime it rains in the morning, that means teaching and learning cannot take place because all the desks will be wet. So sometimes when it rains in the morning like this, it becomes so sad, both the learners and the teachers.
It rained the day after Joy News finished filming and departed Tatali. The personnel there filmed and sent videos to show what they had been complaining about. But that is not all. Sometimes reptiles invade classrooms, disrupting class sessions.
My name is Mame Bisandra.
Snakes invade our classrooms and we run away. We want government to help us.
Big snake or small snakes?
The big ones and the small ones.
Jojo Kobna with that report. Final episode in season 2 of Ghana's Schools of Shame. Look out for season 3. But let's focus on Cleaning Ghana, and the campaign team were out today, and officials of the nuclear station face possible charges of violating environmental rules after the Clean Ghana team discovered an illegal connection of waste from the station directly into the Korle Lagoon. My colleague Prince Owusu-Ansah was with the team. Here's his report read to you.
Problem. No, but so we are only against you for this. Is the head of welfare at the new plant station at Accra Circle, Alhassan Kasim, refuting allegations of violating environmental rules.
Even if not today, I don't even know something like that. But
no, you know from your explanation. The AMA sanitation team charged the management of new plant station for disregarding environmental regulations by openly discharging feces into the Korle Lagoon.
Innovate the septic tank.
Thank you for your
Okay, so you leave. I got it. Yeah. So we'll give notice to that effect.
No problem.
The soak pit receiving effluent has a direct connection to the Korle Lagoon, resulting in the contamination of the water body. George Lawson is the district environmental officer for the Ablekuma South Sub-Metro.
They are discharging effluent into the water body, that's the Korle Lagoon. And by so doing, they pollute the lagoon.
He asked the task force team to shut down the washroom that serves as a facility for many travelers and market women.
So it's been shut down now. At least Joy Clean Ghana campaign is working, getting some results as well.
We'll focus on the climate now, and with less than 7 years to the deadline set by the United Nations for the attainment of the Sustainable Development Goal 13 on climate action, it appears Ghana is yet to fully implement laws enshrined in Act 917. My colleague Carlos Caloni finds out in today's episode of Climate Focus.
And haphazard burning of used or sport lorry tires has become a big business here in Ghana. Here at Ashaiman, these scrap dealers explain to Joy News what goes into the business.
The ties, we get it from vulcanizers who burn it and sell the wares in it. You know, when you burn it, you see wares in the EPA hardly get to know whether we are burning it or where we burn it, because we don't burn it in the daytime. Sometimes we burn it 1 or even 12 a.m. We know we are not protecting the environment. But the only thing we can do is to, burn it.
1/3 of outpatients, including toddlers who visit this facility, have varying forms of respiratory conditions that could be linked to increased air pollution.
Based on the number of cases we see in a day, at least you see about 1/3 of clients coming with upper respiratory tract infections, and it ranges from kids 1 year and above.
Meet 37-year-old Roland Aja Eyim, not his real name.
The doctor told me I have asthma, which was caused by the smoke I was inhaling from that ties that is being burnt.
What strategies can the country deploy under the current circumstances? Professor Daniel Trefo of University of Ghana is an environmental economist.
Having a formal recycling plant, and then they will be able to recycle it in a more environmentally sustainable way.
Well, I don't know if you did the literature in school, but as part of our... You did, eh? Which of the books did you read? Me, I didn't.
And Juliet.
Me, I'm a science student.
Our husband has gone.
Why would it be Romeo and Juliet?
I'm just listening.
Why would
husband
it be
has gone
Romeo
mad
and Juliet?
again.
Well, there are those who read No Nuts from the book Diplomatic Pounds and Other Stories. That's from Amma Atayedu, the late. Akofa Ejani brings us extracts of how the late author describes Ghanaian funerals in her piece.
Funerals. Half of the time, we don't even know who is dead, but we'll be there anyway. We would know the deceased. He would be my aunt's husband's uncle on his father's side, or my best friend's brother-in-law, or some such remote connection. And then move on to the next major business of the day, which is serious jollification. We sing, we dance, we drink, we eat, then we go back to our homes to wait for the next funeral.
We're dancing our way out of here with the National Science and Maths quiz.
And Brekum Methodist Senior High and Technical School will finally have a field of the national competition later this year. Listen to their interaction with Manuel Bright Kweko.
Congratulations to you guys. I know it hasn't been easy. This is your first time qualifying to the national stage. How does that make you feel? How does that make you feel?
I'm feeling so... I don't even know how to explain this.
Were you expecting to actually win the contest? Because
this year is our year.
This year?
To nationals.
You're coming to nationals. So what should we expect from you coming to the nationals?
100%. We are coming.
We should do it.
You should tell them that you are coming.
But somebody would argue that given your performance, you had 16.
If we have won with 2 points, we still been there. We are going to improve it.
I realized when you answered the last riddle, you knew, yes, we are done with it. How was that feeling?
Answering last question to win. In fact, it wasn't easy.